afford to sit behind him.
There are some Italian friends, they are quite good in complaining.
Michael's a very aggressive driver.
We want to win the championship. I mean, that's our ambition.
10, 9, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour.
I don't care. To be world champion together with Ferrari.
The new world champion, Mika Häkkinen.
The 98 season's over, but there's no break for the teams as they begin off-season testing. With Bridgestone, the sole tyre supplier, the test allowed Michael Schumacher to get to grips with the new rubber.
The first impression was actually quite positive because when I remember first time going to groove tyres, it was a big disappointment for me and very difficult to handle, very slippery and very slow lap times. Today with the tyres we have, the difference was not so big, not compared to what we expected. We're feeling fairly comfortable. We have to see how we can develop from there.
The test also gave Schumacher the opportunity to build working relationships with his new partners, which will be instrumental in any future success. Heinz-Harald Frentzen, now with Jordan, and Ralf Schumacher driving the Williams, have swapped seats for 1999 and used the test as an opportunity to familiarize themselves with their new teams. Mika Häkkinen was busy performing his World Championship duties, visiting Woking, the home of the McLaren.
It's a very unusual occasion when the people can go so close to Grand Prix car and look at the car when it goes and accelerates. It's just unbelievable.
As December descends, teams head for Barcelona, where winter testing begins in earnest, and Alessandro Zanardi makes his return to the series.
It's still a new toy for me, and I still to practice a little more in order to be more familiar with the car, but I'm sure it'll come.
The double World Kart champion has signed up with Williams, while Johnny Herbert leaves Sauber for Stuart Ford in an attempt to revitalise his career. Olivier Panis stays with Prost and has had the pins removed from his legs, which have been there since his accident in '97.
For me, this season is a very important season because now I completely new legs and new car. No, maybe it's quite good.
The Frenchman's looking forward to the year ahead after a disappointing season in '98. Another driver who'd rather forget last year is Jacques Villeneuve. The ex-world champion has signed for the all-new British-American racing team, which, despite this setback, had a successful initial test. As 1998 draws to a close, Monte Carlo plays host to the FIA Awards.
Mika Häkkinen.
It's a chance for the new world champion to enjoy his well-earned success and for Ron Dennis to celebrate his team's return to the top. As we enjoy the Christmas vacation, the work continues into the night at the team factories, the winter months being as busy as the summer, with the race on to get the new car ready.
I think the throttle needs to go away from me, otherwise the pedal position seems quite good.
Technical tuning is important, but so's driver training.
I start training at 9 in the morning on my bike and come back, have some late lunch, relax a little bit in the afternoon with my girlfriend or on the beach, because it is quite warm down in Monaco, so that's nice. Do some rock climbing or just something fun like that, and then go to the gym at 5 o'clock in the evening and then work up an appetite for a nice dinner. Just very straightforward, simple life.
The post-Christmas period sees the start of the launch season. British-American Racing will first and face a tough test in their inaugural year.
Oh, it's a great challenge, but it's very exciting because it's all built from scratch, and we're free. We're free to go anywhere we want to and to build on it. So that's very, very exciting.
How does Ricardo Zonta feel about driving with the '97 champion?
He's a world champion. He is very experienced to drive, and I can learn a lot with him.
Stuart Ford launched their new car at the Autosport show in January with drivers Johnny Herbert and Rubens Barrichello.
We've done it wrong, but we have money, we have the engineers, we have the talents, we have everything, the organization, so we must do right in '99.
Ford have built a lighter engine for the forthcoming season.
This year we go into the season knowing that we're very, very good, and I think that can only help us, and it will certainly help Stuart Grand Prix and the Stuart Ford package as a whole.
A Ferrari engine powers Peter Sauber's new car with Jean Alesi and Pedro Diniz at the wheel.
I think the team is very professional and works pretty well. So that was very impressive on the first test. And apparently this car with this engine is a big step forward. And I think this is my best chance in Formula One.
Will this be the car to kickstart Pedro's career and rekindle Jean's? An upbeat launch for Benetton, who start the year with a new chief executive, as well as a totally new car.
I have a huge passion for Formula One. I think everybody brings a little bit of his own person. So David Richards brought himself, I will bring myself.
I feel very confident. The car on the wind tunnel show us a good performance. If the car is good, I hope to win some races. It's my dream, it's my target. We will see.
Giancarlo Fisichella and Alexander Wurz remain at Benetton. Meanwhile, Arrows have yet to decide on their driver lineup. Pedro de la Rosa is in the frame. The 29-year-old Spaniard has won the Formula Nippon Championship before becoming Jordan's test driver last year. Mika Salo is also a candidate for the drive, although it's thought that ex-Tyrrell pilot Tora Takagi is more likely to fill the seat. Williams have a radical new design for '99. Powered by the Supertech, Ralf Schumacher hopes it'll vanquish memories of last year.
The Jordan was a car which was until the limit was easy to drive, but if you then lost it, it was difficult to get back. Whether the Williams, if it steps out, is always nice and controllable.
Ralf is one of Formula One's brightest stars. Alex Zanardi, on the other hand, has been out of the series for a long time. How will he cope?
You know, it's actually not so difficult to win a race. All you have to do is your best, and if you're good enough, your best is going to be good enough to producing a winning effort. I did it in the past few times. Williams did it many, many times. So on paper, there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to do it again.
While many teams were concentrating on the serious business of testing, Ferrari found time to relax at the Italian ski resort of Madonna di Campiglio. Michael Schumacher, Eddie Irvine and test driver Luca Badoer couldn't resist the chance to race. And as usual, Michael showed off his mastery of slippery conditions. With just a few weeks before the first race, Ferrari unveiled their new car. Eddie Irvine raced well last year, but can he improve this season?
It's going to be difficult to get more podiums because I had 8 last year, which was half the races. I also had Austria, if you count that, which was 9. So to get more would not be that easy. I just have to improve the positions, you know, firsts and seconds as opposed to seconds and thirds.
A good year in prospect for Irvine, but what are the chances of Michael Schumacher winning his 3rd championship?
It's not about the 3rd World Championship, it's more about being in Ferrari and doing it together with Ferrari. That means a lot. They haven't done it for 20 years. We have been twice very close, and there's a lot of reasons where it would make it a very special championship.
Jordan launched its new car at the Palladium in London's West End. Last season was the team's most successful, and with 2 race-winning drivers on board, Eddie Jordan's team has a bright future.
I think it's going to be an interesting season for us. I think that we want to leap forward from where we ended up last year and keep that ball rolling and keep progressing up towards the front of the grid. Whether we can win the championship or not, I don't know, but we may have an opportunity.
Hill is joined at Jordan by Heinz-Harald Frentzen.
I tried to sign him about 3 times in various different years preceding this year, and when he became available, I absolutely jumped on it.
Jordan has received an extra boost in the form of a more powerful engine by Mugen. The Prost launch took place at the team's new factory near Paris. The team has raised its game this year with the APO2, a fundamentally different car. Olivier Panis and Jarno Trulli are joined by test driver Stefan Sarrazin. With time before Melbourne running out, some teams take the opportunity to shake down their new cars, ironing out any potential problems, while a couple of teams are still to launch theirs. Minardi are very optimistic about the M199 and the team have signed Spanish hopeful Marc Genet.
I'm happy because I've been fighting for many years to get here, to get in Formula One, and to achieve it. It's quite nice.
World champion Mika Häkkinen and teammate David Coulthard unveiled the all-new McLaren Mercedes.
This car does not carry with it the word evolutionary. This is a car that represents the biggest single step that we felt we could take and has the smallest number of carryover components that we've ever had in the history of McLaren.
Coulthard's support was instrumental in Häkkinen's success.
Once it became clear it was going to be a battle with Ferrari, then if I continued to race individually, then Mika wouldn't have won the championship. Michael would have won the championship. I understood the request from the team to support their Constructors' Championship and to support Mika because he was higher in the championship. That's happened before, it will happen again, but next time hopefully it'll be with me in the front.
Mika will be hard to beat, having lost none of his speed or confidence.
But it's nice to wake up in the morning, have a smile on the face and say, I'm world champion, you know.
With the new season drawing near, last-minute problems can cause headaches.
It was just the alternator, it was just a small problem, and you know, we take it very carefully in these early stages and check and double check, but it's not a big deal.
The champions are ready as the door closes on the off-season. Melbourne, Australia, and the 1999 Formula One season blasts off. As usual, the race is well supported, the fans anticipating a spectacular display. For the second year in succession, it's an all-McLaren front row with Mika Häkkinen on pole and David Coulthard beside him. Michael Schumacher starts third. Countdown to the start, but the amber lights are flashing, signalling an aborted start. Herbert's car is overheated, and unbelievably, so is Barrichello's. A disastrous start to the season for Stewart. The start of the second formation lap, and Coulthard has problems. But worse for Schumacher, he'll have to start at the back. Finally, the race gets underway. The McLarens are off the line well. Hill has the momentum as he surges past Ralf Schumacher. Michael Schumacher struggling, but Alesi's stranded as the rest of the field charge down to turn 1. A fantastic start for Villeneuve from 11th to 6th. Häkkinen leads, Coulthard second, Irvine third, Frentzen fourth, then Ralf Schumacher, Fisichella and Villeneuve. Damon Hill's in the thick of it, a nudge there from Trulli, and the Englishman's off. Eddie Jordan, one driver down. The two McLarens still lead, pulling away from Irvine in third as the field settle into the race. Action at the back, with Schumacher trying to recover lost positions. Takagi and Badoa are in a fight of their own. Takagi's through, so is Michael, but he's a long way off the leaders who've distanced themselves from the rest of the field. There's an off. It's Jacques Villeneuve in a spin. The Canadian's lost it in a big way, and he's lucky not to collect Diniz. Lap 13 and DC's in the pits and out of the race, stuck in 6th gear. With the safety car deployed, Häkkinen's advantage vanishes, and as the field return to racing, the Finn has to do it all again. Häkkinen appears to be in trouble. He's unable to accelerate, and Irvine moves into the lead. Mika can do nothing to stop the field rushing past. A double disaster for McLaren. The new leader will have to watch his mirrors. Frentzen and Ralf Schumacher are close behind. There's contact. Trulli trimming the Benetton of Fisichella. Lap 21 and Alex Zanardi's on the rough stuff, trying desperately to hold it together, but it's all in vain. The Williams is in the wall, bringing out the safety car once again. Mika Häkkönen's made it back to the pit, but he's calling it a day. A rough start to the season for Ron. That's Schumacher, rubber flailing from his right rear tyre and damage to his front wing as he makes his way to the pits. And there's another driver in trouble. It's Alexander Wurz. The Benetton suspension has collapsed, but that neat little recovery won't help him, and Rocco Benetton knows it. Bad news for Stewart. Barrichello receives a stop-go penalty. First and second place drivers are in for their one and only stop. This could give Frentzen a chance to take the lead, but it's all down to the pit crews. The pressure is on. The Ferrari mechanics are as slick as ever, getting Irvine out in front with Frentzen in hot pursuit. Rubens Barrichello now moves up to fifth, past De La Rosa. But it's Eddie Irvine who comes round to complete his last lap and take his maiden Formula One win. Ferrari are jubilant at the Ulsterman's victory, and celebrations too for Jordan and Williams, with Heinz-Harald Frentzen finishing second and Ralf Schumacher third. After 81 attempts, Eddie Irvine intends to make the most of his first win in the world's top racing series.
To do a Ferrari, and after such a long time, you know, and all the people have helped me, and from Formula 4 all the way up. There's so many, I'd be here for a few hours. I needed a lot of help to get here, believe me.
With the full backing of his team, Irvine can relish the day as he takes the early lead in the Drivers' Championship. Fisichella, Barrichello and Arrows driver De La Rosa on his debut Grand Prix complete the top six.
Never underestimate him.
After qualifying third, Michael Schumacher had problems in the race. Unable to select first gear, it meant, as in Suzuka last year, that he'd be forced to start from the back of the grid. When the race began, he again experienced gear selection problems, but eventually got going.
We had a few problems. Basically, they were related to the steering wheel, which we finally changed, and after that, all the problems were gone.
This stop was Michael's third of the race, and it dropped him to last, where he remained until the end. But being a lap down on his teammate didn't deter the German, who managed to set the fastest lap.
Mika had a problem. He went very slow, and I knew the rule. As long as I didn't go ahead of him, it wasn't classed as overtaking, and he was going so slow, and I did him, and that was great. Thank you very much, and off I went.
Irvine's afternoon was in stark contrast to Schumacher's. He drove a flawless race to take his first victory.
Wherever I lay my hat, there'll be a party.
McLaren's weekend was beset by problems, which started during Friday's practice session with this accident for Häkkinen. The world champion went on to snatch pole position off his teammate in qualifying, but the pit crew were suffering problems of their own. Come the race, the speed the McLarens had demonstrated throughout practice and qualifying was evident, but it wasn't long before the rot set in.
We've had some sort of hydraulic problem, which I'm not sure if it's gearbox or one of the other parts of the car, but it may just be an electronic failure.
With Coulthard out, Häkkinen still led, but when the race was restarted after Villeneuve's accident, it soon became clear that the Finn had not escaped the team's gremlins. Mika attempted to continue, but it was all in vain.
As far as we can tell so far, we had a mechanical failure on the throttle linkage of Mika's car. We had the race well in control. We were driving well off the pace.
This disappointment is not going to put us down a little bit, I tell you.
Barrichello placed his steward fourth in qualifying.
I'm just praying that we finish the race, really, because we haven't yet done a full race distance in the car.
Jackie's prayers weren't answered. Johnny Herbert's engine caught fire on the grid, leading to confusion in the garage because of an incredible coincidence.
Hang on a second. Johnny, Rubens' car's gone as well.
Rubens Barrichello's engine had suffered the same fate.
Is there something wrong?
Yeah, it took fire, but they took the car out of the grid.
Okay, no problem. It's Johnny that had exact the same thing. So
yeah, but they took the car out of the grid.
You can't
Which car can I use?
T-car. Your car's burnt out, the wiring loop.
With both race cars out of action, there was only the spare available, which went to Barrichello, leaving Herbert a spectator. The Brazilian was forced to start from the pit lane, but thereafter drove the race of his life and may have taken victory, but for further problems. Craig Pollock and the BAR team had a low-key start to the season. Zonta only managed 19th in qualifying, while Villeneuve couldn't better 11th. After a great start, Villeneuve ran as high as 7th, but lap 14 was the Canadian's last.
Well, it's quite simple. He lost his rear wing and lost traction and obviously had a crash.
No, it wasn't too bad because I didn't go straight towards the wall, so it was okay. The car was running really, really strong. He could run a little bit quicker than Ralph, so it was looking good for the second half of the race.
Zonta climbed to 5th, but retired when his gearbox overheated.
They call me to come in because they want to see the wings. Just stop the 5th gear, my car. It's very hot. The car was going very well and very fun, to drive the car.
Damon Hill celebrated his 100th Grand Prix in Australia. His first race was for Brabham in '92 before joining Williams in '93. The following season he missed winning the driver's title by 1 point, but 2 years later the Englishman's dream was realised when he became world champion at the final race in Suzuka. Arrows in '97 led to a season of disappointment. Last year he took Jordan's first victory, but this season started badly.
Somebody got a wheel inside my right rear and tipped me up and spun me round.
Round 2 takes the championship to South America and the Interlagos circuit in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Home of the late, great Ayrton Senna, the Brazilian fans have a particular passion for motor racing. Mika Häkkinen will start this race from pole with his teammate David Coulthard alongside him for the second race in succession. Rubens Barrichello starts 3rd on home soil. Only seconds to the start and the lights are out. Schumacher has to take avoiding action, moving up to 3rd behind Barrichello. DC stranded on the grid, while Mika Häkkinen leads the rest of the field into the Senna S. Häkkinen leads, Barrichello's 2nd, then it's Schumacher, Irvine, Fisichella and Frentzen. 3 laps down, and Coulthard rejoins the race. Häkkinen's under pressure. Barrichello's looking to pass. Mika's slowing and the Brazilians through to first place. The crowd are jubilant. With Hill chasing Wirtz, the Jordan driver nips up the inside, and they've touched. The Austrian takes to the grass. Herbert retires. The steward's hydraulics letting him down, causing concern for Jackie and Rubens, who still leads this race. Michael Schumacher's 2nd, with Mika Häkkinen behind him in 3rd after his earlier problems. That's Wirtz. Handling problems causing the Austrian to take to the gravel. Tense times in the steward pit as they wait for Barrichello. This could be the driver's and the team's first win, but they know everything must run like clockwork. It's a good one, and the Brazilian makes his way out. There's Irvine. Barrichello will come out behind the Ulsterman as Paul Stewart talks tactics with Ferrari. Rubens is quicker than Eddie, but the Ferrari driver won't make it easy. A huge accident there for Stefan Sarrazin. He's okay, but Bernardi's hopes of a top 10 finish look to be up in smoke. Barrichello has the speed, and he's up the inside of Irvine and into 3rd place. Lap 38, and Schumacher's in. Mika Häkkinen's back in the lead, but will have to make up time before his stop. Mika's in, and time is critical if he's to come out in front of the Ferrari. It's a blistering stop, and the Finn gets on the power. Back on track, and there's the Ferrari. Mika stays in front, leaving Michael to play catch-up. That's Barrichello out of the race. The steward's engine letting down the local hero. Rubens sits dejected in his car, but the fans show their appreciation at one of the best drives by a Brazilian since the glory days of Ayrton Senna. Into the closing stages, and Patrick Head keeps an eye on Ralf Schumacher in 4th. Irvine also has his eye on the place. But the race belongs to Mika Häkkinen, who comes around and takes his first victory of the year. Michael Schumacher registers his first finish of the season, coming home 2nd. Frenssen's not crossed the line yet, and he doesn't look likely to make it. The Germans run out of fuel on the final lap. But luckily for Jordan, he's the only other driver on the same lap as the leaders, and so keeps his position on the podium.
Let's say this way, I could have gone much quicker. I mean, I was really going for it. I was really enjoying driving, and I'm flat out, but I got a lot of traffic and I lost a lot of time.
After Melbourne, this was the result he needed. Ferrari are the first team in '99 to have 2 cars in the points. Ralf Schumacher and Olivier Panis also score.
I love it.
David Coulthard had problems at the start.
Obviously, a bit surprised at the start when I saw the lights go out. I must have been in the hollow in the engine because it just stopped immediately. I didn't even move. But anyway, we could use it for testing and went out again, and then we had a gearbox problem, so I had no gears. I'm incredibly disappointed. You know, it's 2 races and no points.
I was coming round the 3rd corner, selecting up the gears normally and going flat out. Everything looked cool. Suddenly, no gear whatsoever. Obviously, I thought the game is over, and the team told me to continue, and gears came back, and I was able to continue.
Gear selection problems weren't Mika's only concern.
Interlagos is strange because it's all the corners are really high-speed corners, are left-hand corners. And I tell you, my neck was knackered. It was just finished. I was not able to hold my neck up, and I thought it's going to risk myself. So I let it rest on the headrest.
Hakkinen won the race, but Schumacher was only 5 seconds behind.
We didn't need to win by a lap, we just needed to win.
Zanardi struggled in qualifying.
The diff was doing some very, very funny things, and they said, okay, let's change car, we can't fix it. So I went out in the other. As I was getting things together, people which were following me saw a little bit of fog. The engine blew up. I doubt there is something left valid to analyze.
Things didn't get any better in the race.
I just lost the diff completely, and the car was quite undrivable, but the team asked me to stay out, which I did. All that slipping must have produced an incredible amount of heat in the area. So when I came for the stop, and as I put first gear, everything became really fragile and just went.
It was disappointing for the reigning kart champion.
I don't think I've ever had so many problems in my career.
Injured Minardi driver Luca Badoa was replaced in Brazil by Prost test driver Stéphane Sarrazin. The Frenchman's Formula One debut was a baptism of fire when he lost control of the car exiting the last corner.
I don't know, my car did in straight line and I crashed very hard.
Ricardo Zonta was lucky to escape serious injury after this accident.
I've seen Ricardo in the medical centre and he appears to be okay. It's like a broken metatarsal, but apart from that, he is okay. We had a few other options if Mika couldn't be available, but he was actually already on a flight down to London before we called him.
The first European race of the season takes place in the heart of motor racing country. Imola is the venue for the San Marino Grand Prix. The circuit is packed with enthusiastic spectators, the majority here supporting one team and one man, Ferrari and Michael Schumacher. The double world champion lines up third, but is close to the McLarens, only 0.2 of a second shy of pole. David Coulthard starts on the front row next to his teammate Mika Hakkinen, who takes his 3rd consecutive pole of the year. Hopes run high as the field prepare to leave the starting grid. And they're off. A good start by the McLarens, and Ralf Schumacher's flying too. But another awful race for Villeneuve and BAR. Hakkinen and Coulthard side by side on the approach to Tamburello, and Mika holds on to the lead. That's truly the Prost driver out of his home Grand Prix. Behind the McLarens, Schumacher's 3rd, Irvine's 4th, Barrichello's 5th, and Frenzen's 6th. There's a spinner. It's Pedro de la Rosa and Alexander Wurz. Both drivers are out. Back at the front, Hakkinen, with a light fuel load, is steadily increasing his lead over DC. Fisichella leads the battle for 13th, and that's Panis losing the back of his Prost. A neat little recovery, but he's down to 16th. Over 12 seconds in front now, and Hakkinen's lost it. Into the barrier. Absolutely incredible. Ron Dennis can't believe it. An unforced error, losing the Finn an almost certain 10 points. Coulthard is the new race leader, but he's got competition in the form of Michael Schumacher, who's only a few seconds behind and piling on the pressure. In car and in the pits with the Ferrari ace, a crucial stop for the Italian team. Jean Alesi's off, but keeps the Sauber going, managing to get back on track. Race leader David Coulthard's in. It looks like a one-stopper for the Scotsman on a different strategy to Schumacher. And there's Michael now, moving into the lead, pushing DC down to second. That's Diniz having problems handling his Sauber as Schumacher carves his way through the traffic. A Ferrari leads in Italy, and the Tifosi go wild. Michael Schumacher, now with a substantial lead, is flying and pits in for the second time. Only 22 laps remaining as the crew fit fresh rubber and refuel. 6 seconds dead. A blinding stop for the Ferrari ace, and he exits the pits in front of Coulthard and retains the lead. A blow for the McLaren driver, but a boost for Ferrari. But it's a little early for celebrations. Irvine's engine has blown his chances of a podium finish. Not a good omen for the leader. And that's Frentzen finish for the day too, caught out on the Ulsterman's oil. Those retirements benefiting the Stewart team, with Barrichello moving up to third place, albeit a lap behind the leader. The final corner, and Michael Schumacher crosses the line to take his first win of the season with Coulthard in second place. A home win for the Italian team, while Rubens Barrichello makes it onto the podium. This is Ferrari's first win at Imola since 1983.
I'd say this weekend, if it was a team victory. I mean, we knew we were lacking performance the first two races, but we knew as well the championship can't go that way if we want to win it, and so we had to turn it around, and this weekend, I guess, to some extent, we turned it around. We did it.
With that victory, Michael Schumacher and Ferrari now lead both drivers' and constructors' championships. Damon Hill's first finish of the year also nets the Englishman his first points for fourth, Fisichella's fifth and Alesi's sixth.
I feel a need for speed. I didn't get this feeling since '97, where I could go out in qualifying and just push the car and just keep on pushing and pushing. That's the first time this season.
Villeneuve's optimism was short-lived. It ended on the grid.
Well, nothing happened. Wasn't going anywhere. There was no drive.
After the pre-season promise, this was the first race the BAR looked competitive.
We've been quick, but that's what we were expecting since the beginning of the season. We just had it a little bit late, and to finally be qualified fifth and have good chances in the race, it's very frustrating to not even take the start. We wanted to finish a race to see if the car could last, so that's not positive at all.
I don't think anyone who watched the race can doubt that Nick was dominating the race, made a rare mistake.
That rare mistake happened on lap 17 when Häkkinen had a considerable lead.
It was weird. I mean, it happened very fast. Coming off the curb, the rear tires dropped back in the tarmac and he spun the car around. Looks like it was my mistake. I couldn't handle it.
He wasn't the only McLaren driver having problems.
I had the performance to win today. Lost a lot of time in the traffic, and that was the difference between coming out behind Michael and in front of him.
Coulthard believed that back markers wrapped up in their own battle cost him victory.
There's a rule that quite clearly states that you move over within 3 marshals' posts of seeing a blue flag.
The Scotsman lost over 10 seconds.
You know, how many laps did I spend stuck behind the Benetton and the Prost? And when I did pass the Prost and got behind the Benetton, I lost downforce and ran wide, and then the Prost passed me again.
Fisichella and Panis went unpunished.
If you're a lap down, I think you have to accept, maybe a loss of half a second or so to let the leader through. You know, they may be leading a Grand Prix one day and the shoe's on the other foot.
The glitz and glamour of Monte Carlo is the setting for the 4th round of the Formula One World Championship. The infamous twisty circuit around the streets of Monaco and the party atmosphere attracts stars and celebrities from around the world. Melinda Messenger, Jeff Goldblum and Val Kilmer were all there, joined by the local royalty, Prince Albert of Monaco. Mika Salo is again substituting for the injured Zonta, partnering Jacques Villeneuve at BAR, although most of the Finnish support is for Mika Häkkinen, who starts on pole for the 2nd year in a row. There's no lack of support for Michael Schumacher either, who lines up on the front row less than 1/10 of a second slower. David Coulthard starts 3rd after problems in practice. But the circuit's characteristics will suit the Ferrari, with Michael Schumacher at the wheel. Lights out, and the race gets underway. Häkkinen and Schumacher are side by side as they approach the first turn. The Germans through, and Eddie Irvine's past Coulthard for 3rd. A terrific start for the Ferrari drivers. Schumacher's already beginning to pull out a gap to Häkkinen in 2nd. Irvine's 3rd. Coulthard's 4th, Barrichello's 5th, and Frenzen's 6th. Down to the chicane, and Hill dives up the inside of Ralf Schumacher, and they've collided. Damon's out on the spot, but Ralf is able to continue. It's the Englishman's 3rd retirement of the year. Häkkinen's beginning to drop back a little now. Irvine in the 2nd Ferrari is keeping the Finn under pressure, with DC still in touch. Schumacher's now over 7 seconds in front of the battle for 2nd. Coulthard has a problem. There's smoke pouring from the back of the McLaren, and the Scotsman could be in serious trouble. There's concern on the pit wall. The problem sounds terminal. Johnny Herbert's race is over, the Stewart driver's 4th successive retirement. David Coulthard's managed to limp back to the pits. It's the Scotsman's 3rd retirement out of 4, leaving his championship aspirations in tatters. That's Mika Salo into the tyre barrier and out of the race. Mika Häkkinen's gone straight on, heading down the hill to Mirabeau, sliding on Tagagi's dropped oil. He's kept the engine alive, but with Schumacher disappearing into the distance, this little incident could cost the McLaren driver dear. Eddie Irvine from 20 seconds behind is now right with the McLaren, putting the Finn under pressure and challenging for 2nd place. Heinz-Harald Frenzen's having another good race, lying 5th behind Rubens Barrichello. The Germans matching the Brazilians' times lap for lap. Häkkinen's in for his one and only stop of the race. The McLaren mechanics do a good job, but not good enough to stop Eddie Irvine moving up to 2nd, pushing Mika down to 3rd. And off at the old station hairpin. It's Ralf Schumacher into the barrier, ending what has been an uncompetitive race for Williams. The flags are out and Michael Schumacher has to take evasive action. But nevertheless, the Ferrari driver leads this race convincingly. Rubens Barrichello's in trouble. That's a heavy shunt into the tyre wall, the result of more suspension problems for the Stewart team. A frustrating finish to the Brazilians' race so close to the end. And the end it is, as Michael Schumacher crosses the line to notch up his 4th victory in Monaco and Ferrari's first 1-2 in the Principality.
We have as well an intensive test program up to Barcelona, and we expect some development to happen there. We want to have a car which beats the others on all circuits, and we're in a good way, good direction. And if I remember back to Melbourne, there were a lot of people not expecting what we are doing right now. Maybe they don't expect other things as well. Us, yes.
Michael Schumacher's 2nd win in a row has given the Ferrari team plenty to celebrate as they go to Spain. Heinz-Harald Frentzen records his 3rd top 6 finish of the year, with the 2 Benetton drivers, Fisichella and Wirtz, both in the points. After 4 races, Michael Schumacher leads the driver's title with 26 points. Irvine 2nd, 8 points adrift, but 4 points clear of Häkkinen. Ferrari lead the Constructors' Championship with 44 points, 24 more than McLaren in 2nd. Jordan lie 3rd.
Some drive this, some drive that, and I drive the Ferrari.
Michael Schumacher's weekend did not start as well as it ended. This incident on Saturday morning not only lost him valuable track time, but also put his race car out of action for qualifying.
At the moment it's not possible to repair, and Michael started with a T-car.
But as is typical of the man, he was straight on the pace during the qualifying session. The Ferrari particularly suited to this circuit, and he appeared to have pole position. Controversy lay ahead when Häkkinen snatched pole under yellow flags.
I lift my arm up to slow down a little bit. I saw the situation 100%. It was everything under control.
To be honest, I will be surprised if it stays the order as it is now, because yellow flags is yellow flags, and we'll see what happens later.
Mika Häkkinen's lap was allowed to stand and he kept pole position, but the Finn didn't have it all his own way when Schumacher beat him off the line.
Saw Mika having wheel spin initially and struggling a bit. And actually, he tried to move over to make it difficult to me, but he was clever enough not to make it too close, otherwise we would have crashed.
Once ahead, Michael Schumacher was never passed, leading convincingly to the end. The Ferrari driver cruised to his 35th victory.
Monaco is a very special place, and it's one of these Grand Prix you want to win, because it's so unusual and so special, and It's great achievement.
Stewart's weekend was far from great, as the same mechanical failure accounted for both their cars during the race. Johnny Herbert was the first victim on lap 32.
Well, it seems that we have a suspension failure. It's a bit of a shame. It was, again, a bit too early for me.
Rubens Barrichello had been looking good for points.
5 laps to go, I was quite happy with 5th already, when the suspension let me down.
This is the second year in succession that the Brazilian has retired from the Monaco Grand Prix with suspension failure, and it was a bitter disappointment for the team.
I was over the swimming pool corners when we lost the suspension, and I spun and I crashed.
Monte Carlo is home to the rich and famous, many of whom visited the Grand Prix. Prince Albert of Monaco was joined by other royals and celebrities from the world of sport, entertainment, and the Milan catwalks. Barcelona in Spain is the venue for the 5th round. The Circuit de Catalunya should suit the McLarens after their dominant performance here last year. The team will be hoping to improve after losing the last 2 Grand Prix to Ferrari. Mika Häkkinen starts on pole and has Eddie Irvine beside him. David Coulthard lines up 3rd. With King Juan Carlos of Spain overseeing the proceedings, the race gets underway and the field blasts off the grid. There's a couple of stallers. It's Panis and Genet. Starting 4th, Schumacher makes a great start, but he's blocked by Coulthard and Irvine as they head flat out down to turn 1. Coulthard started well, past Irvine for 2nd. Villeneuve's on the outside of Schumacher and on a charge, moving from 6th to 3rd. Action further back as Frentzen comes around the outside of Barrichello, and there's contact. It's settling down at the front, with Häkkinen leading from Coulthard, Villeneuve, Schumacher, Irvine, Trulli and Alesi. Villeneuve is frustrating Michael Schumacher, who can see the McLarens driving off into the distance. Häkkinen with a good lead already. Time for the first round of pit stops, with Villeneuve and Schumacher coming in together. This could be the Germans' opportunity to pass. The team have done it many times before, putting the pressure on the British-American racing crew. At opposite ends of the pit lane, Villeneuve must get out before the Ferrari passes. Schumacher's off. And he passes the Canadian. Villeneuve's right behind, but he's lost the position. Coulthard's turn now, currently lying 2nd, but with aspirations for 1st. But he's messed up, overshooting his garage. That could give the Scotsman problems later. Alesi's in trouble. The Sauber driver pulling off to notch up his 4th retirement of the year. Another disappointing race for Peter. Also having difficulties is Heinz-Harald Frentzen, the Jordan driver, slowing dramatically after running as high as 5th. And pulling off as Hill goes through. Gearbox problems bringing about Villeneuve's departure. David Coulthard's in for his 2nd stop now, and it's crucial if he's to get back out in front of the charging Michael Schumacher. The German's been putting in some sensational laps and will be hoping it's enough to keep the Scotsman behind. Coulthard heads for the track. There's Schumacher. It's going to be close, but Coulthard has it just as they race to the corner. The team have done all they can to secure a McLaren 1-2, with the Ferraris running 3rd and 4th. Ralf Schumacher has had a good race, currently in 5th place. Jarno Trulli in 6th could bring home a much-needed point for Prost in what's proving to be a disappointing season for the French team. Back with the leader, Mika Häkkinen, on his final lap before coming around to take victory in Spain. Only his 2nd win out of 5 pole positions. With 2 retirements and questionable reliability from the new McLaren, the Finn will relish this convincing victory.
It's never easy. Sometimes it does look like it is, but you need enormous concentration all the way through the race, particularly when you lead. And I had quite a big advantage for David and Michael all the time through the race. So it was hard to maintain the maximum concentration.
This win puts Mika Häkkinen firmly back in the running for the championship, now just 6 points behind Michael Schumacher. The McLaren team too will be jubilant after scoring their first 1-2 of the season. With McLarens and Ferraris filling the top 4 spots, Ralf Schumacher and Jarno Trulli complete the top 6. As with many modern circuits, overtaking at the Spanish track is not easy, which can make the starts the key to the race. When Coulthard passed Irvine for second and Jacques Villeneuve passed the 2 Ferraris, any hope that Schumacher could challenge for the lead was effectively over.
We tried starts all weekend and they never worked, and this one just worked, so that was a lucky one.
After that, Schumacher would have to bide his time.
I could have catched him right in the first lap in turn 5, but it would have meant a lot of risk. And I rather thought, don't do it and wait till later stage.
Waiting meant the German lost time to the McLarens.
The Ferraris were quicker, but we were running less downforce, so even though the car was sliding a lot, I could keep him behind.
Michael Schumacher had to wait for the first round of pit stops for any chance of passing Villeneuve. And with the Ferrari crew well practiced at pit stop strategies, it was no surprise to see the red car exit the pits in front. But that wasn't the only problem Villeneuve was to suffer during the race. On his second stop, the BAR succumbed to transmission failure, and the Canadian had no option but to retire.
First gear broke, I think, at the pit stop, but we had another problem. Around the first pit stop, the rear wing broke also, so the car became a little bit loose.
BAR's problems paled in comparison to Benetton's, the Spanish track exposing the deficiencies in the car's aerodynamics.
We had a really dreadful test here last week. We damaged one car. We were actually down to 1 car day of real testing, and I think we're paying for it.
The team didn't fare much better in the race, struggling to stay in touch with the front runners, and both drivers stopping on the circuit in the closing minutes.
Coming here, being really off the pace. Struggling the whole weekend. We have to really analyze now in the team where is the weak point, and then we have to work against this. But honestly, I don't see the situation change for the next few races.
In sharp contrast, the race promised much for Jean Alesi and Sauber after the Frenchman set an early provisional pole which took the top runners quite some time to beat.
To see the top teams and top drivers to try to beat you, and they're not able to do it immediately, I mean, it's a very good feeling. What is going on at the moment is from the gearbox we don't have the reliability, and it costs us performance, plus we are not able to finish. When you lock the wheel, when you have a wheel spin, sometimes the gears go in and out on the wrong moment, and it destroys the gears.
After a disappointing start to the season with the Supertech engine, British American Racing have signed an engine deal with Honda, who recently pulled out of entering its own team next year.
We think that Honda believe that with British American Racing being a new team, that it will be easier to work with us and we won't be set in our ways.
This deal may cause problems for Jordan.
Well, I think the new Honda engines are just a totally new engine. My understanding is we have an exclusive engine deal or a works deal.
But Eddie Jordan doesn't see it that way.
Words like works, I'm confused as to what that might mean. I just don't want to say any more.
The vibrant city of Montreal is the setting for the Canadian Grand Prix. Scene of Jean Alesi's win in '95, the Frenchman's a hit with the spectators, although they still remember their hero Gilles Villeneuve. With temperatures rising into the 40s, the water that surrounds the circuit was put to good use, but the heat didn't stop thousands of spectators turning up to watch Michael Schumacher taking his first pole of the year. Mika Häkkinen joins him on the front row, with Eddie Irvine starting third. Jacques Villeneuve's well supported here and starts 16th at the circuit named after his father. We join the grid at the end of the formation lap with the Italian teams praying for results. Ready for action, and they're off. Schumacher's getting away well, and so's Irvine, who's closing on Häkkinen. Fisichella alongside Coulthard around the outside and up to fourth. That's truly on grass, and he's hit Alesi and Barrichello. Disaster for Sauber. On board with DC on the outside of Fisichella, side by side around the Senna hairpin, but the Benetton driver has the line and keeps the place. Bad news for Barrichello. The Brazilian's car was badly damaged in the first corner incident, but the team are trying to get him back out. Still chasing fourth place, Coulthard's alongside the Benetton on the straight, the Mercedes engine showing its power advantage. Back with the leaders, and Michael Schumacher's beginning to pull away from Häkkinen in second. Irvine's third, Coulthard's fourth, Fisichella's fifth and Frenzen's sixth. Michael Schumacher's controlling this race from the front. The marshal's warn of oil on the circuit. That's Schumacher over the curb. He's lost it and into the wall. Incredible. An unforced error and a missed opportunity. It's an opportunity that's fallen into the hands of his rival Mika Häkkinen, who now leads. The Finns in for tyres and fuel. The pressure off with Schumacher out. Villeneuve currently ninth into turn 15 and into the wall. A heavy impact there for the local driver. With the debris cleared from the track, the safety car pulls off and the race resumes. Mika Häkkinen, the race leader, Irvine second, Coulthard third, Fisichella fourth and Frentzen fifth. Häkkinen's safe in front, but Irvine isn't. Under attack from Coulthard going into the hairpin. Irvine keeps his foot down, there's contact, and both drivers are off. No damage done, and the drivers are able to continue, but they've lost time and places. Eddie's back in sixth now and chasing Johnny Herbert in the Stewart. DC receives his punishment for a pit exit infringement, which puts him down to 10th. Eddie Irvine has the bit between his teeth and is looking to pass the Englishman. The Ferrari driver's through, taking an unusual line into the last corner, and is up to 5th. The Ulsterman's not finished yet. He has Ralf Schumacher in his sights, and the Ferrari engine is more than powerful enough, passing the Williams driver and up to 4th. Mika Häkkinen has a comfortable lead, and with only a few laps left to complete, 10 points look within reach. Frenzen's up to 2nd, but Fisichella's pushing hard and catching all the time. The Jordan driver's under pressure, and he's off. It's a big one into the tyre wall. Brake failure on the Jordan meant Frentzen didn't stand a chance, giving Eddie a headache. It's the last lap, and the safety car pulls off, but no one is allowed to pass Mika Häkkinen before the line, making this race effectively the first time a Grand Prix has finished under a safety car. Victory goes to Häkkinen for the 3rd time this year, and one well-deserved. Joy for Fisichella and Benetton, who go one better than last year, finishing 2nd. Bitter disappointment for Jordan, though. It's the 2nd race in a row. Mechanical problems have sidelined the team. The win places Mika at the top of the Drivers' Championship for the first time this season, putting his title aspirations back on track.
I feel incredible. It was excellent race, because I was comfortable with the car, and I was just able to go quicker if I wanted to, but there was no reason for it, because the level of risk what would happen. And then I saw Michael going off. I don't know exactly what happened, but turned up to be very, very good for me.
Magic for Mika in Montreal. With Irvine 3rd and Ralf Schumacher 4th, Herbert and Diniz round off the point scorers.
I drive, therefore I am.
It's almost a tradition at the Gilles Villeneuve circuit that there's controversy at the first corner, and this year was no exception when Trulli hit Alesi and Barrichello.
All the people from Ford are here to see the race, and we didn't have a failure. We had someone driving a Formula 1 very bad.
After qualifying 5th, it was a major disappointment, and the replay does show Trulli travelling quicker than the others.
Trulli came on the inside. I think he was maybe going back to the go-karts times when he just braked too late and took me off the race.
It's damaged all the side pod and half the electrics are hanging out of there, but because the pace car was out, we said, well, we'll just fix it, go on and do a lap and see if it feels okay. But those carry on, because you never know what's going to happen in a race like this.
The Brazilian retired soon after. Turn 15 accounted for many retirements during the race.
I just indexed the corner when I pushed the throttle for the power, and the car went oversteer, and I don't know, maybe it was my mistake.
Ricardo Zonta was the first, Damon Hill was next.
Well, it was an accident. I crashed the car. Basically, I lost control of the vehicle and hit the wall. There's nothing more to it than that.
The next retirement was more of a surprise.
I had, just before various laps where I almost lost it in that chicane because other people heavily went over it, and I had a lot of dust on my line actually. just was trying to build up my lead, which I needed for my pit stop, and everything went well until this moment. But it was very clearly a mistake by myself. Just lost it and hit the wall. I seem to make one a year, and I hope that is the last one I make this year.
2 world champions out, 1 to go.
Some drivers cut it pretty hard, and there's a lot of sand going on the track, so if you're just a little bit wide, you lose a lot of grip, and well, the same for everybody.
Eddie Irvine had an entertaining, if controversial, race.
We were side by side through the first corner, but he went very, very wide, and then I just took the next one, and he just clipped my rear wheel and spun me.
The Ulsterman first tussle with David Coulthard.
When we were going to the second corner, I was on the inside, and I understand he tried to go to the outside to overtake me again, but I think he turned in a little too early because I'm on the inside. I can't disappear. You know, the only way for me to not hit him was to go on the grass, and that's not the racetrack.
Irvine disagreed.
I got a good run at him, and I was alongside him, and Johnny braked really, really late, and I had to brake that little bit later, and we didn't make the corner.
I think it was a bit naughty what he did because he had no intention of going around the corner.
Once past, there was no stopping the Ferrari driver, who went on to finish on the podium. It was a double celebration in Canada for Jackie Stewart, his 60th birthday, and the sale of Stewart to Ford.
The idea is a long-term commitment by Ford. They've bought Cosworth and they've bought the Stewart Ford team. That's a very big statement. If we're thinking down the line some distance, we've got to be beating up McLaren and Ferrari, supposedly. If you're going to do that, you need all the latest kit. And to do that, you need a major car maker.
Ford is the second largest motor manufacturer in the world. It's only fit, therefore, and right that we actually took 100% control of the team and take it back to the top, and that's the way Ford should be. Jackie Stewart will still remain as chairman and chief executive officer, and Paul Stewart will remain as the deputy chairman.
The Magny-Cours circuit is the venue for the French Grand Prix. The miserable weather during qualifying did nothing to dampen the enthusiasm of the spectators, who were treated to skillful car control and an unusual grid order. As testament to the difficult conditions, Mika Häkkinen lines up an uncompetitive 14th. Michael Schumacher fared better, although not up to his usual standard. He starts 6th, 11 places in front of his teammate Eddie Irvine. David Coulthard qualified highest of the championship contenders in 4th. It's an all-French affair in 3rd, with Olivier Panis in the Prost Peugeot, by far his best performance of the year, while compatriot Jean Alesi lines up 2nd. Rubens Barrichello starts in pole for only the 2nd time in his career, and the first for Stewart. It's drive for the start, and the race is on. Häkkinen wastes no time charging past Zonta. Into turn 1 with Barrichello leading and Alesi close behind. Tense times for Paul Stewart. Michael Schumacher's on a charge, racing down the outside of Panis at the hairpin and pushing the Frenchman back. Mika Häkkinen's doing the same, past Jacques Villeneuve and Pedro Diniz, late on the brakes and running deep into the corner. His McLaren Mercedes making the other cars look as though they're standing still. Round Lisset, and Barrichello crosses the line to complete the first lap in the lead. Coulthard has passed Alesi and is piling the pressure on. He wants that position. Down to the hairpin again, and DC's having a look. He's got the line, and he's through. Can he make it stick, though? Barrichello's coming back at him, but the McLaren driver has it. First place. Further back, Häkkinen's already up to 6th and challenging Schumacher for 5th. The Finn has the line and calmly takes the position of his main championship rival. Lap 9 and Coulthard slowing. Alternator failure ending any hopes he had of taking his first win of the year here in France. But it's good news for Stewart as Rubens Barrichello retakes the lead. Jean Alesi's 2nd, Heinz-Harald Frenzen's 3rd, Mika Häkkinen's 4th and Michael Schumacher's 5th. But the leaders better watch out. Mika's on the attack and the skies are beginning to darken. Moving out from behind Frenzen, Mika does it again to take 3rd place. Jean Todt's looking concerned at the prospect of rain. It could be starting, although Johnny Herbert, out on lap 4, doesn't think so. Back with the action, and Häkkinen's next victim is Jean Alesi. The Frenchman's doing everything he can to stop the Finn, but it's to no avail. The rain is definitely coming down now, and the track conditions are quickly becoming treacherous. It's time to change to wets, with all the front runners pouring into the pits. Crucial moments for the race leader. A small mistake by the team could lose him the race. It's a good stop, which keeps him in front with Häkkinen right behind. Alesi retains third for Sauber, and it's a race between Jordan and Ferrari for fourth. Schumacher's out, but Frentzen just makes it. Conditions are deteriorating rapidly. The view from Jean Alesi's Sauber, and the Frenchman's off, caught out by large areas of standing water. A bitter blow for the Sauber team, a lost podium position. There's another. It's Jacques Villeneuve notching up his 7th successive retirement. It's turning into a nightmare for the drivers out there, and BAR have yet to score a point this year. That's Fisichella. He's lost it, but is lucky enough to catch the Benetton and continue. The track officials have seen enough and brought out the safety car. Schumacher appears to have a problem. He's trying to signal to his pit. The Germans lost radio contact. With the safety car pulling off, the race can resume. Rubens Barrichello leads, Mika Häkkinen's second, Heinz-Harald Frentzen's third, Michael Schumacher's fourth, Olivier Panis is fifth, and Jarno Trulli's sixth. Mika's wasting no time putting Rubens under pressure. The McLaren driver's having a look into the Adelaide hairpin, and he's blown it into a spin. Michael Schumacher, having passed Frentzen for second, now has his sights set on first place. With Häkkinen back in 8th, there's only the steward of Barrichello in the way. Out of the Brazilian slipstream, and he has the inside line for the corner. A clean move by the Ferrari #1, who now leads the French Grand Prix, and is pulling away from Barrichello at over a second a lap. The Rainmeister now looks uncatchable. But there's concern on the Ferrari pit wall. All's not well with Michael's car. He's lost a lot of time, and from 9 seconds ahead, he now has the field snapping at his heels. Gear selection problems on the Ferrari can be remedied with a new steering wheel, and Schumacher's in for his second scheduled stop. Wets are still the order of the day as the Ferrari team fit the new steering wheel. Enough fuel to last until the end of the race, and he's back out in 6th place. Barrichello is once again leading this race. Frentzen second, but Mika Häkkinen has fought his way back and is putting the Jordan driver under pressure. Into the hairpin, Mika's favourite passing place, and Frentzen's run wide. Häkkinen's up the inside and into 2nd place. But the Finn's not finished yet. The McLaren Mercedes more than a match for the Stewart Ford down the straight, giving him the racing line into the next corner and into the lead. Stewart and McLaren still have to make another stop. Barrichello's in, and so is Mika Häkkinen. The Finn stays in front, but Frentzen on a one-stopper is past them both and takes the lead. Mika down to 2nd. Only a few laps left. Eddie Jordan's confident as the clouds open once again. Frentzen's lead looks safe, but Häkkinen's not far behind. The battle's for 4th place between brothers Michael and Ralph and Eddie Irvine. The Williams driver's having a go around the outside of his elder sibling. Michael's not making it easy for him, though, but Ralph keeps his foot down and goes through as Eddie holds station behind his teammate. On the last lap, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen crosses the line to win the French Grand Prix. His first for Jordan and only the 2nd of his career. With Häkkinen 2nd, a terrific race by Barrichello bags the Brazilian 3rd and the final podium spot. A fair reward for the hard-working Stewart team. A truly exciting race with 8 changes of the lead between 5 drivers, but only 1 winner.
I had to save a little bit of fuel in one stage to make it to the end, but we have good radio communications, and the communication worked out perfectly.
That win moves Frentzen to within 3 points of Eddie Irvine and 3rd place in the Drivers' Championship. Häkkinen, Barrichello, Ralf Schumacher and the 2 Ferraris complete the top 6. After 7 rounds, Mika Häkkinen leads the Drivers' Championship with Michael Schumacher 2nd. 3 points separate Irvine and Frentzen in 3rd and 4th. Ferrari still lead the Constructors' Championship, but McLaren have closed in, now lying just 6 points behind.
Germans are better drivers.
After 2 troubled years at Williams, which netted him only 1 win, Heinz-Harald Frentzen demonstrated that working in an environment where he feels comfortable brings out the best in him as a driver. He did a splendid job running close to front all the way without making a mistake. But it wasn't without problems.
I pulled in very tight, and then I didn't have any gear, so I don't know what happened. I had to look for gear first, but first I saw that my gearbox was broken, and that was a bit of an adrenaline moment.
Frentzen lost a little time, but what won the race for the German was the superior strategy used by the team. Heinz-Harald came in for wets with the rest of the field on lap 22, but unlike the other front runners, that would be his only stop of the race.
Everybody tried to make it on as safe as possible to the pits, but then I noticed that the guys on the refuel were taking a hell lot of time to refuel the car. I noticed that the guys around me must have been less fuel because initially they pulled away quite quickly. But luckily then the pace car came in, and then we had time for the radio conversations to the pits, talking about the strategy.
Damon, you decide.
About 30 seconds before the pit stop, we went up on the fuel. We needed to be out for quite a few laps on the safety car to make it, and it just dropped perfectly for us.
Eddie Jordan will be hoping this will be the first of many. Mika Häkkinen may have only come second in the race, but nevertheless thoroughly enjoyed himself, a feeling many of the drivers and spectators shared.
The race was just great. Great fun.
Damon Hill hinted in France that this might be his last year in Formula One.
If I wasn't enjoying it and I didn't think I could be competitive, then I think it was time to stop. And I think those two criteria were met this year.
The Englishman failed to qualify, but was allowed to race, where he trailed around at the back until retiring. However, Eddie Jordan still backs his driver.
So there's a number of circuits that are coming to his advantage. Silverstone, Spa, of course, where he won with us. But overall, I think Damon is committed to Jordan, and Jordan is committed to him, and it's my opinion at this stage. I mean, I've heard what he said, but I still believe that it's his intention to finish the season with Jordan and finish on a high note.
I want to do the very best I can for Eddie and the team, and we'll see what happens.
Approaching the midpoint of the season, and round 8 takes the championship to Silverstone for the British Grand Prix. Steeped in motor racing history, the circuit hosted the first round of the championship in 1950 and is renowned for attracting record crowds and model spectators. Damon Hill's back at the front of his home Grand Prix, lining up in 6th place. Mika Häkkinen starts on pole for the 6th time this year, with David Coulthard in 3rd, pushed back by Michael Schumacher, who starts 2nd. Waiting for the lights, and it's go. Herbert back in 11th takes evasive action as the McLarens blast off the grid. Both Coulthard and Irvine getting the jump on Schumacher. Round cops, and the German has it all to do to catch the flying Finn. Yet another dismal race for Jacques Villeneuve, and that Zanardi stranded too. The race has been stopped while the stallers are cleared, but Schumacher is oblivious. He's still racing and looking to pass his teammate, charging down the Hangar Straight. Hard on the throttle into Stowe, and the German's late on the brakes, locking up across the gravel, and that's a very heavy impact into the tyre barrier. Schumacher's skid marks are visible to the other drivers. The marshals are on the scene quickly, and Schumacher looks okay. Watched by Ferrari's technical director Ross Brawn. McLaren's drivers discuss the implications of Schumacher's exit, while Eddie Irvine tries to remain cool. But there's concern from brother Ralph.
Well, he's saying his legs are bruised or something. Ross didn't, I just spoke with Ross didn't seem too positive about getting anything car side of it.
The Williams driver still has a job to do and will have to wait to discover the extent of Michael's injuries. The double world champion, now removed from his car, will be taken to hospital for a full examination. With the wreckage removed, the restarted race can begin. Häkkinen's away well, Irvine's past Coulthard for 2nd, with Frentzen 4th and Ralf Schumacher moving up to 5th past Damon Hill. De La Rosa's stranded on the grid, bringing out the safety car. With the hazard removed, the race resumes. Häkkinen still leading, but Irvine in second is really feeling the pressure from DC. Side by side down the pit straight, the Ulsterman manages to hang on to his position. Through bridge, the ultra-fast right-hander Mika's already built up a 6-second lead. Frentzen and Schumacher are in together for their first stops. This is the battle for fourth and could give Ralph the opportunity to get past his compatriot. Something's holding up the Jordan. It's the Williams coming down the pit lane as Ralph goes through. Eddie Irvine in the sole Ferrari is currently running second and is due for his first stop at any time. The Ferrari's in now. DC's already stopped and has just set his fastest lap of the race. Irvine's overshot his garage, which will cost him time. Exiting the pit lane now, but that's Coulthard. The Scotsman's ahead and up to second place. Problems for Mika Häkkinen. He's lost his rear wheel. Unbelievable. The wheel bounces across the circuit and very nearly takes out Fisichella. Häkkinen can only limp back to the pits. The championship leader's losing time and places while his crew try to get to the bottom of the problem. This is an unscheduled stop, coming just one lap after his first. And Häkkinen rejoins the race, although now a lap down on the leaders. David Coulthard is the new race leader, with Eddie Irvine giving chase. Ralf Schumacher's doing an astounding job, now up to third in the Williams, his best performance since Australia. Häkkinen's back in, and this time it's for good. As DC concentrates on the road ahead, still under intense pressure from Irvine behind. Ralf Schumacher and Frentzen race to the bitter end for that final podium place, but it's David Coulthard who crosses the line to win at his home Grand Prix. Mika Häkkinen hides his disappointment with pleasure at his teammate's first win of the season, the fifth of the Scotsman's career. With Eddie Irvine second and Damon Hill fifth, the local drivers have made the most of the local support.
This is definitely the best feeling I've ever had in my racing career. To win this race, I think, is, always has been the one that I would trade for any other win, to win in the British Grand Prix. So it's fantastic.
A great result that will put him firmly back in the title hunt. With Irvine second and Hill fifth, three Brits finish in the points at Silverstone. Michael Schumacher's nightmare weekend began with disappointment. Only sixth fastest on Friday, his first run in qualifying was not quick enough to beat Mika Häkkinen. The German failed to better his time, but was quick enough to start second. Things didn't get any better in the race when David Coulthard and teammate Eddie Irvine pushed him down to fourth place. The Ferrari driver tried hard to pass Irvine, believing it was a race situation, but unknown to both drivers, the race had been red flagged. Charging down to Stowe Corner, Schumacher saw his opportunity to pass, but locked up and went straight on, hitting the tyre barrier with considerable force. There was much speculation to what caused the off. Was it a mechanical fault or driver error? Michael Schumacher was lucky to escape with relatively light injuries.
And just came flying past me with, I think, four wheels locked. He was flying.
This incident has thrown Ferrari's championship aspirations into disarray, but Jean Todt was adamant that Schumacher was not at fault.
Michael trying to brake hard before Stowe Corner, just lost hydraulic pressure with the brake. He could not do anything, just lost the control of the car and went straight on.
Michael Schumacher was admitted to Northampton General Hospital this afternoon and found to have sustained a straightforward fracture of the right tibia and fibula. These injuries were reduced during a surgical procedure which was uncomplicated.
Mika Häkkinen had a fantastic start to the weekend, snatching pole by nearly half a second. The Finn's fine form continued early in the race, but trouble lay ahead. Problems fitting his left rear wheel left Mika trying to reassure himself everything was okay. It wasn't. On his outlap, he slowed dramatically, allowing Coulthard to pass him for the lead. Back in the pits on the next lap, the world champion would have to wait 27 seconds to have the troublesome wheel changed, the crew having real problems seating the left rear properly. As the seconds ticked past, so did any chance he had of capitalising on Schumacher's absence. Another check on the way out, and the problem finally appeared to be solved. Häkkinen went on to set the fastest lap of the race, but immediately after, it became apparent that all was not well. Luckily for the Finn, he was close enough to the pit entrance to get back to his garage, where his McLaren crew were waiting for him. Things still weren't right, the crew giving the wheel hub assembly a close inspection. Another change of wheel, and he was sent on his way once again.
Some kind of problem there. I don't know exactly myself yet, but it was something so dangerous it was no point to continue.
McLaren opted to be safe.
We took a prudent, safe decision with Mika. We weren't sure what the problem was. It's just the right thing to do. That's motor racing.
The gossip at Silverstone was centred around Damon Hill's possible retirement, and that this might be his last race.
You're not going to have an announcement from me. I'm just here to get on with the race weekend, not making any announcements about any other things that concern driving or not driving.
Damon's reticence on the subject points to the possibility that he's not yet made up his mind.
Well, I don't know if Damon Hill's retiring. And I don't think you know it, Damon Hill's retiring. And I'm not even sure Damon knows if he's retiring.
I hope that he has a race meeting this weekend which persuades him that he should see the season out.
Not all would agree.
Once you're not hungry anymore, then you should stop. I think, if he retires, the sport will miss him.
Fifth place, though, might encourage him to keep on driving.
I can only say it's the last British Grand Prix.
Whatever he decides, it's been a memorable career. Mika Salo, who replaced Zonta at BAR earlier in the season, accepted the challenge of substituting for Michael Schumacher.
It's a great team. I'm really honored to be replacing Michael. Of course, it's unfortunate what happened to him, but it's a big chance for me, so I will take full advantage of it.
In fact, in our opinion, we had two options. To take Luca from Minardi and use him as a spare driver, and considering the pressure, the tension which we know we will be living at the moment, we felt it was better to ask Mika Salo to drive the car.
The Finn qualified 7th after slowly building up his speed and could be in a position to help Irvine in the race.
Mika's, he's got a learning curve, very steep learning curve. It's going to be difficult for him, but we'll see.
The A1 ring in Austria is the venue for round 9. And while the Benetton team get into the spirit of the event, Mika Häkkinen, who starts from pole for the 7th time this year, gives his rival's car the once-over. David Coulthard lines up beside his teammate on the front row, with Heinz-Harald Frentzen starting 4th. Under starters' orders, and it's go in Austria. Alexander Wirtz is off to a good start, past Ralf Schumacher for 7th, the local hero carrying the hopes of the Austrian fans. Into Castrol Curve, and it's Häkkinen first, Coulthard second, Irvine third, Barrichello and Frentzen. Irvine really has his work cut out to do anything about the two McLarens. Coulthard's having a look, diving up the inside of Häkkinen into turn 2, and he's taken Mika off. There's Salo into the back of Herbert. Häkkinen stranded by the side of the circuit, waiting until the entire field has passed. Adrian Newey can't hide his frustration. Herbert's in for a new wing, but it won't be a quick stop. David Coulthard now leads the Austrian Grand Prix with a substantial gap back to Rubens Barrichello in 2nd. The Brazilians managed to pass Irvine. Frentzen's 4th, and a sensational start for Villeneuve has moved him from 9th to 5th. Ralf Schumacher's close behind in 6th. A disappointing start for Mika Salo in his first race for Ferrari. Disappointment for the other Mika too at the tail of the field, but already starting to dispose of some rear runners. Lap 7 and Häkkinen's up to 14th and chasing Damon Hill. He's got the line and a beautiful overtaking manoeuvre by the Finn. The McLaren drivers really making short work of the midfield. Joining the battle for 5th with Ralf Schumacher trying to pass Villeneuve. Under pressure from Diniz, the Williams drivers lost it and is out of the race. Back at the front, David Coulthard's built up a lead of over 10 seconds to Rubens Barrichello in second. The Stewart driver has Eddie Irvine breathing down his neck. The frustrated Ferrari pilot needs to pass the Brazilian to make the most of Häkkinen's misfortune. Mika's not far behind in fifth and challenging Frentzen for fourth. Along the pit straight, the McLaren driver pulls out from behind the Jordan. He's got the line into turn one and takes the place. Unbelievable. Villeneuve retires for the 9th time this year. More trouble, this time for Williams and Zanardi. The Italians out of fuel and out of the race. Eddie Irvine's in, and the sensational few laps he's just posted means that with a quick pit stop he could gain the lead. Leaving the pit lane now, Coulthard's on the straight bearing down, but the Scotsman's too far behind and Irvine moves in front. Salo, a lap down, allows his teammate through and can now protect him from the McLaren. Mika Häkkinen still flying, passing Rubens Barrichello for third. But it's worse than a lost podium for the Brazilian and Stewart. The Ford engine has blown the team's chances of points. Back with the leaders and Irvine's feeling the pressure. Coulthard's really got the hammer down, creating tense moments in the McLaren and Ferrari garages. It's the last lap, and Eddie Irvine comes round to win his second Grand Prix of the year to the elation of his team, making Ferrari's championship aspirations look a realistic prospect.
I'm surprised they've beaten them yet, but at the same time I knew we weren't a second off them yesterday, and I knew we'd be closer. You know, I reckon really yesterday we were about half a second off, and today, normally in a race we go better, and I thought, you know, if we get the strategy right, we can do the job.
Irvine certainly has done the job, moving to within 2 points of championship leader Mika Häkkinen, with the McLaren second and third. Frentzen, Wirtz and Diniz round off the top 6 finishers.
I think it's cool.
After their superior pace in qualifying and leaving the grid in first and second, McLaren could be forgiven for thinking they'd be leaving Austria with 16 points and a healthy lead in the Drivers' Championship. With Häkkinen relegated to 22nd after the second corner incident, the team were more than a little upset.
I just couldn't talk in that moment. I was just too emotional in that situation, and I just didn't want to talk. Things like that happen sometimes. Unfortunately, it happened here. But the situation could be much worse, you know.
Mika was magnanimous about the incident. It was an ambitious move by DC, but could prove very costly for his teammate come the end of the year.
It was a mistake on my part. I took him out, and you know, what can I do? I can't reverse the race. It happens.
Consequences will be David having mental pain of making a mistake, and just like in any situation, that's enough. You doesn't need any more. These are grown men. They don't need to be treated like children. He made a mistake. He accepts it. It's finished and over with.
The incident did create the chance to witness one of those awesome comeback drives for which Mika Häkkinen is renowned. From last on lap 1, the McLaren driver incredibly finished on the podium.
Generally, overtaking again other cars, racing against the other drivers was again very enjoyable. I think the organization here in Austria did a good job in terms of blue flags, so it made the racing extremely interesting for me.
David Coulthard finished second, but was disappointed not to have won.
Well, obviously this is my nightmare scenario. Not only have I taken my teammate off, but I've you know, finished second to a Ferrari.
McLaren's mistakes helped Irvine to his second win of the season.
You know, I just had to save fuel and try and save the brakes, and that's what I was doing. And then I started pushing and pushing them. When Barrichello went in, that's when I really put the hammer down, and that's what got us ahead of DC.
Eddie Irvine's sensational set of laps before pitting mirrored the tactics often used by Schumacher. This victory keeps Ferrari's championship dreams alive. Round 10 takes the championship to Germany and Hockenheim. The 4.2-mile circuit is characterized by long straights, tight chicanes and average lap speeds of over 140 miles per hour, creating an atmosphere that keeps the spectators on their feet. Boris Becker enjoys McLaren's hospitality, while with fine weather forecast, Mika Häkkinen enjoys McLaren's superiority, starting from pole. Frentzen lines up second, his best performance of the year, pipping David Coulthard, who starts third. The tension mounts as the drivers wait for the start, and they're off. Hakkinen's getting away well, but DC's bogged down. A bad start for Irvine too. Hakkinen leads into the first corner with Salo up to second. There's trouble further back. Villeneuve's out of shape and he's taken Diniz with him. Genet started the accident, but that's no consolation for the Sauber team or the drivers as they walk away from their wrecks. Hakkinen leads. Salo's a sensational second. Coulthard's third, Frensen's fourth, but Barrichello has other ideas, pulling alongside the German, and the Brazilian has the line into the stadium, pushing Frensen down to fifth. But it's all in vain. Barrichello's stopping. A hydraulic failure on his Stewart, leading to yet more disappointment for the team. Back with the battle for second, and DC's determined to get past Mika Salo, pulling to the inside, and he's damaged his front wing. The Scotsman will struggle from here. Irvine in fifth place has overtaking problems of his own, trying to find a way past Frensen, who won't give up without a fight at his home Grand Prix. DC's in for a new front wing, but it's blown his race chances. The unscheduled stop dropping him back to 10th place. It's catch-up time for the McLaren driver, but it won't be easy, having to cut the chicane in order to pass Panis for 8th. Irvine's in now for his only stop of the race, and he'll have to make it count. Unable to pass Frensen on the track, this could be his only chance. It's a good stop, and he's out in front of the Jordan driver and up to third. DC's fighting his way through the field, but Herbert and Wirtz are in a battle of their own. Johnny pulls out and moves up to 6th. Race leader Mika Hakkinen's in. His one-stop strategy should see him retain his advantage. The pit crew are having problems with the fueling rig. The team scramble around for Coulthard's unit. Time is ticking away, but the second unit works, and the world champion rejoins the race. His 24-second pit stop has cost him the lead. Down to 4th, Hakkinen must now deal with Frensen. He's in the German's tow and pulls out, side by side as they approach the chicane, and it's Hakkinen's corner, up to 3rd place. Just over halfway through now. It's a blowout on Hakkinen's McLaren at tremendous speed. The Finn can do nothing to slow himself down, and it's a heavy impact. There's concern in the McLaren garage, but Mika's all right, just a little shaken. Unbelievable bad luck and a major blow to his title fight. Mika Salo now leads an unexpected Ferrari 1-2 with Eddie Irvine right behind. More problems for McLaren, Coulthard serving a 10-second stop-go penalty for cutting the chicane, while Ferrari look forward to their second 1-2 finish of the season. Irvine now leads the German Grand Prix, led through by Mika Salo. He takes the checkered flag to claim his 3rd victory of the season. Ferrari have plenty to celebrate, 16 points ahead in the Constructors' Championship, even without Schumacher's help.
Here today, really, I just thought, right, McLaren's are too quick. We got to just, make sure I finish, get some points, and live to fight another day. And the race came to us. As long as that keeps happening, we're looking good.
The new points leader looks as though he can take the fight to Hakkinen. Frensen visits the podium for the 4th time this season. Ralf Schumacher is in the points again, with Panis scoring his 2nd top 6 finish. Eddie Irvine leads the Drivers' Championship. Mika Hakkinen's 8 points shy in 2nd. Heinz-Harald Frensen's 3rd. Michael Schumacher, despite his absence, is still 4th. Ferrari retain the lead in the Constructors, 16 points ahead of McLaren. Jordan the 3rd. Williams, Benetton and Stewart complete the top 6. Mika Salo was undoubtedly the star of the race.
I was unbelievable, and my practice starts were nowhere near that, and it just, I don't know, it just gripped and took off. I had no wheel spin at all, just boom.
DC fought for the position, but a misjudged passing manoeuvre meant a pit stop for repairs, dropping him out of the lead battle.
Obviously, DC was pushing Mika very hard, and it was always going to end in tears. And thankfully it did.
After Hakkinen's retirement, Mika Salo led briefly before allowing his teammate Eddie Irvine through to his 2nd successive win. But it was the Finn's work that made the victory possible.
I never gave the call, thank God. I know what it feels like. Mika, what a star today. It's his race. He's getting the trophy. I'd feel bad if it was sitting on my mantelpiece. He did a fantastic job, I have to say. Absolutely boy wonder. Incredible.
I help him now, maybe it's his turn to help me someday.
Mika Hakkinen's championship ambitions look to be on track at the beginning of the race.
And I was just looking in my mirror. I was just looking in my mirror, thinking about, wow, you know, is everything cool? Everything's fine. And then it just went bang, you know, and just lost the control.
Mika's tyre burst at 190 miles per hour.
When you spin off like that, you know, you do get some more grey hair.
The accident was terrifying, but not the first of the weekend. A cut on David Coulthard's tyre during qualifying caused a similar failure. But what had caused Häkkänen's?
Bridgestone have put a press release out, which I think explains everything. We're still looking at it, our engineers are looking at it, and until we understand it properly, then no more comment than that, really.
Mika Häkkinen has lost a significant amount of points in the last 3 races and may now be feeling that the championship is beginning to slip through his fingers. Unable to race at his home Grand Prix, Michael Schumacher appeared on the big screens to update his fans on his progress.
It's not only a bone problem, it's as well on my heel where I have a cut, and that is basically more affecting me because of the flexibility of my foot and the healing itself. And I don't really I'm not able to predict when things will be right. And I would like to say thanks to all my English supporters, where I got tremendous support and many nice letters and presents, and I would like to use this opportunity to say thank you.
The Hungaroring is the venue for round 11 of the championship. The host city, Budapest, is particularly popular among the travelling spectators who turn up in their droves to enjoy its party atmosphere. With passing difficult, pole position is more important than ever, something which Mika Häkkinen will want to exploit after only scoring 4 points in the last 3 races. Eddie Irvine joins his title rival on the front row, with David Coulthard lining up third. Tense times as the race is about to start, and off they roar. A bad start for DC. That's Fisichella charging past as Häkkinen leads the field down to turn 1. Alexander Wurz retains 7th. There's contact. It's Jacques Villeneuve on the inside. Barrichello's there too, and the Brazilians pass them both. Häkkinen leads and has already opened out a significant gap to Irvine in 2nd place. Fisichella's 3rd with Frentzen 4th. Mika Salo back in 20th behind Della Rosa, and no help to Irvine or Ferrari in their bid for the championship. David Coulthard lost 2 positions at the start and is paying for it now, back in 5th and unable to overtake Frentzen or Fisichella. The Scotsman's only chance is to pass them during the stops. Ron Dennis shows his driver the way. The team set to work, not the first time this year that their driver's race depends on their speed. Dennis knows it's going to be tight, but his team have done a good job, and DC's out, just in front of Fisichella for 3rd. A blow to the Benetton team's morale, but their driver's in next, and there's still 4th place and 3 points to fight for. There's a problem with the car. Giancarlo's race is over, a major disappointment for the team who are fighting to hold on to 5th in the Constructors' Championship. David Coulthard's made up the 4-second deficit to Irvine in 2nd, and he's putting intense pressure on the Ulsterman, hoping the Ferrari driver will make a mistake. Lap 58, and both drivers make their 2nd stops together. DC successfully used his 1st stop to pass Fisichella and Frentzen. Can he and McLaren do it again? There's lots of pressure on the mechanics. Every 10th they can save could mean a race position. Almost identical. But Ferrari have it. Eddie Irvine keeps 2nd place as they head back out onto the track. Mika Häkkinen is leading the Hungarian Grand Prix now with considerable ease and with a comfortable gap. Irvine's beginning to feel the pressure. The Ferrari isn't handling to his liking, and Coulthard is ruthless in his pursuit. He's obviously the quicker of the 2 drivers. A little oversteer and understeer for Irvine, and he's off the circuit. This is DC's chance, and with no hesitation he moves up to 2nd place. Irvine's back on track, but now in 3rd place, losing 2 valuable points towards the championship. It's the 77th and last lap. Mika Häkkinen comes around to win his 4th Grand Prix of the year, his 1st since Canada. With DC 2nd, it's McLaren's first 1-2 since Spain. But the fans only care about one driver.
And I'm certainly knowing Finnish people, they will have a great evening tonight, and they have a good reason to celebrate and be proud of Finland and proud of the McLaren.
Only 2 points adrift of Irvine, Mika has plenty to celebrate. McLaren lie just 4 points behind Ferrari in the Constructors with only 5 races left. Another great drive from Heinz-Harald Frentzen, a consistent finisher this year. Damon Hill also in the top 6, making it a good weekend for Jordan.
I love it.
Jean Alesi has been described as an emotional time bomb waiting to explode, but the French Sicilian has been severely tested this year. With 7 retirements and memories of his disastrous race in Germany still fresh, Jean was hopeful of better in Hungary. After struggling during Friday practice, worse was to follow on Saturday morning, when he came across Pedro de la Rosa at high speed. The severity of the impact caused concern. Team principal Peter Sauber explains what happened.
He was in the corner after the straight, and he will overtake a slow car. I think was Pedro de la Rosa. He was very slow, and he see him very late. That was the problem.
Jean has only a hematome on the right leg, and he was brought to a hospital, and we expect that he will be back in the afternoon.
His race car destroyed, Alesi returned to qualify an impressive 11th in the T car, 1 place in front of his teammate. His race got off to a good start when he made up positions during the first lap. Thereafter, he drove competitively, moving up to 5th place before pitting. Having run out of fuel on his way in, Jean had to coast his car to the pit garage. This meant a much lengthier stay than expected, as his crew had to restart the engine. The delay dropped Alesi back to 8th. Again, the Frenchman drove impressively. He was up to 4th when he received a stop-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane, a direct result of running out of fuel, disabling his pit lane restrictor. After another fuel problem at his second stop, his frustration showed.
I'm frustrated because since the beginning of the season I try, and I cannot finish the races in a good situation. My life with Sauber is finished.
A lack of fuel also accounted for his 8th retirement of the season, and there's much speculation that he's already signed for another team.
I finish my contract the best as I can. I have another 4 races. I can do well, I hope, if I can see the checking flag. So I thank everybody for these 2 years here, and I think it's time for me to do something else.
Belgium's historic Spa-Francorchamps is one of the most demanding circuits on the calendar, and this year drivers had the unusual prospect of good weather for the race. Mika Häkkinen starts on pole for the 10th time this season, with teammate David Coulthard alongside him on the front row. Heinz-Harald Frentzen's on top form, qualifying 3rd in the Jordan. The drivers are in position. Häkkinen moves early, but the race has started. Alesi's having to dodge the BAR of Zonta as the field charged down to La Source. Häkkinen and Coulthard side by side heading into the hairpin. Irvine's up to 4th, and the McLarens have touched. Coulthard moving into the lead. A heart-stopping moment for Ron Dennis. And heart-stopping moments for the pack as they head flat out through the infamous Eau Rouge. Race order, Coulthard's 1st, Häkkinen's 2nd, Frentzen's 3rd, Irvine's 4th, Ralf Schumacher's 5th, and Zanardi's 6th. The battle for 11th is between the Benetton of Giancarlo Fisichella and Jean Alesi in the Sauber. Fisichella runs wide, and Alesi sees his chance, diving up the inside to snatch the position. Hill dropped 3 places at the start and is now trying desperately to get back into the points, but is struggling to pass Zanardi. This is one of the Englishman's favourite circuits, and Eddie Jordan can't understand what the problem is. David Coulthard's now pulled out a gap to his teammate in 2nd, with Häkkinen seemingly unable to challenge him. Salo's playing the team game, now driving 3 seconds a lap slower than he's capable of, blocking Ralf Schumacher and helping Irvine retain 4th. The German's getting frustrated, but is unable to pass. That's Herbert. He's lost it under braking, and there's nothing he can do to slow the car down. Straight into the tyre barrier and out of the race. The Englishman's already experienced brake problems this afternoon, and that's his 7th retirement of the year. Eddie Irvine's currently in 4th place, but is due for a stop soon and is relying on teammate Mika Salo's help to maximise his championship points, something Patrick Head is furious about. Patrick heads back to the Williams garage as Irvine pits in. It's a crucial stop, but can his mechanics turn him around quick enough for their team tactics to have been worth it? Back on track, Irvine's out in front of Schumacher, but forces Salo onto the grass. A near miss as Mika moves in front. Job done, Jean Todt issues more team orders. The Finn is told to let his teammate pass, which he does obediently, and Irvine moves back up to 4th and 3 championship points. David Coulthard, who's led from the start, comes round to take the checkered flag and his 2nd victory of the year. With Häkkinen 2nd, it's a great 1-2 for McLaren. The final place on the podium goes to Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who beat the Ferraris fair and square, giving Eddie something to cheer about. DC receives a frosty reception. Mika is obviously still unhappy about being beaten at La Source.
It's always been my favourite track, and I've never won here in any of the formulas I've raced, so to finally win here is great.
A disappointing race for Irvine, finishing 4th. Ralf Schumacher's 5th, and Damon Hill scores points for the 2nd race in a row.
I'm not macho.
David Coulthard boosted his chances of winning the Drivers' Championship when he passed his teammate at La Source, but the corner was almost won before the start.
Before the actual red lights went out, Mika moved, and I almost moved with him as a reaction. He made a not very good start, I made a better start, and naturally came over to defend what I could take on the line, and then there was a little bit of contact, but I don't think there was any damage done.
When the lights went on and all the lights were burning, you want to feel the clutch where it is, and suddenly the clutch grabbed very quickly and the car moved. It was very pleasant in the first corner, but I still was able to make a reasonable start.
Both did a very good job. Very pleased for David. Give him an extra bit of confidence, and obviously we're looking forward to the balance of the season.
Jacques Villeneuve is no stranger to big accidents. Last year in Belgium, driving for Williams, the Canadian had a huge off at Eau Rouge. Although his car left the circuit at a tremendous rate of knots, Jacques was quite calm and collected about the whole incident.
Because it's a big one, and you walk out of the car and you're not hurt, so it's, it's like when you get out of a big fight and you're the one who won.
This year's weekend didn't start any better when he suffered suspension failure during Friday's practice session.
The front suspension just came off when I hit the brakes. That happened a lot of times this year, rear wing suspensions, and I've hurt myself, so there's good luck in that.
Friday could have been an omen for what was to come. After changes to the circuit for this year, Jacques was even more confident and made a deal with his teammate Zonta about how they would tackle Eau Rouge.
The corner is easier now that they've removed the wall from the inside. It's visually not as impressive as it used to be. It's going to be flat out.
And that was the deal. Both drivers would attempt the daunting corner without lifting, and the result was almost a carbon copy of last year's accident.
That's pretty close to last year. I think the impact was smaller, but I rolled, so that was a bonus.
Jacques' car was written off and the session stopped for 12 minutes. One car down, Craig Pollitt was concerned. When the session restarted, Ricardo Zonta went straight out. The Brazilian didn't back off from the challenge and suffered an even more spectacular accident than Villeneuve.
It was a little bit incredulous. I was sitting up on the pit wall and I just thought, this cannot be true. This has to be somebody else's car. It can't be my car. But the good thing about it is both drivers are absolutely fine. They've got no bruises. And I was just thinking, Jesus, how strong these cars have to be. The drivers were just going too fast for that particular corner. That's what they're paid to do. They're paid to take the risks and push the car to the limit, and sometimes they go over the limit.
He's a little bit disappointed because I think he was outdone by Zonta.
The Autodromo Nazionale di Monza is the venue for the Italian Grand Prix. The historic circuit situated on the outskirts of Milan gives the Tifosi the chance to see their beloved Ferraris on home soil. The 3.6-mile track is one of the fastest on the calendar, with lap speeds of over 150 miles per hour. Mika Häkkinen's on pole with Frentzen beside him.
I go for it.
David Coulthard lines up third in the second McLaren, with Alessandro Zanardi putting in his best performance of the year to start fourth. Eddie Irvine's way back in eighth. Only seconds to go, and the lights are out. A good start for Häkkinen, too much wheel spin for Frentzen. Zanardi's having a sensational start, moving up to second. Charging down to the first chicane, it's Häkkinen, Zanardi, Frentzen, Coulthard and Schumacher together. The Ferraris are well down as half the field take a shortcut. Genet and Takagi tussle for the same piece of road. That incident putting the Spaniard out. Riding with Frentzen right on the tail of Zanardi. He pulls alongside, the Mugen powering the German up to second place. Häkkinen's first, Frentzen second, Zanardi's third, and there's a battle for fourth between Schumacher, Salo and Coulthard. Three abreast as they hammer down the back straight. Now it's Schumacher and Coulthard side by side as they approach the turn. Ralph takes fourth. DC runs wide and Salo nips past for fifth. Barrichello's having a look as well. Two Williams in the top four. Frank must be pleased. Racing to the chicane, and that's Giancarlo Fisichella going straight on. A nudge of the barrier, the Italian's race is over. A blow for the team at home. Coulthard's really under pressure from Barrichello. The Brazilian's seen his opportunity and moves alongside. DC has the inside line, but the Stewart driver takes it and moves up to sixth. The Williams drivers are running third and fourth. Schumacher makes a move and Zanardi makes it easy for him. Williams are having a sensational race. Badoa and Takagi are scrapping for 16th. Late on the brakes by the Arrows driver, and he's taken the Minardi out of the race. Tora manages to continue. Halfway through now, and Häkkinen's leading this race comfortably. Zanardi's not so secure. That's Barrichello poised for another passing manoeuvre, pulling out and up to fourth. Lap 29, and Mika Häkkinen has an 8-second advantage. He's got it sideways. Unbelievable. The McLaren grinds to a halt. Häkkinen showing his frustration at throwing away 10 valuable championship points. With Häkkinen out, Frentzen moves into the lead. Salo and Coulthard are in together, racing for third. It's an all-important stop. They've got problems with DC's fuel hose, and that blows his chances of passing Salo. The Scotsman's close behind, but that's Barrichello charging down the straight. Salo's clear, but Coulthard loses the place to the Stewart driver, dropping to fifth. The 53rd and final lap, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen can see the checkered flag and his second win of the season. A fantastic race for the Jordan driver, putting him in contention for the driver's title. The German drove magnificently, keeping his cool while under pressure from Ralph and strengthening Jordan's grip on third place in the Constructors. Jordan's first dry win is a sign of its increasing competitiveness.
This 10 point means quite a lot for me and for the team. And it's also my biggest success in my Formula One career so far, and I'm absolutely delighted.
And so are the Jordan team now that Frentzen has a real chance of going for glory. Ralf Schumacher notches up his best result of the year in second. A good finish for Salo on the podium, with Barrichello, Coulthard and Irvine completing the top six. With 3 rounds to go, Mika Häkkinen and Eddie Irvine are level on points. Heinz-Harald Frenzen's only 10 points behind in third, with David Coulthard fourth. McLaren lead the Constructors' Championship just 6 points ahead of Ferrari. Jordan looks safe in third, with Williams a distant fourth.
Built for speed.
Williams had their most competitive race of the year in Italy. Ralf Schumacher and Alex Zanardi qualified in the top 6. At the start of the race, both drivers made up positions and battled with the leaders.
Yeah, the first few corners were a bit tight, really. I had to take a little shortcut, not to get together with David.
Ralph finished on the podium, but Zanardi had problems.
Gradually the floor went loose and lost it, and the car wasn't the same anymore, and it's a shame.
Well, I have to say thanks to the team, and I have as well to say thanks to my teammate who made it incredibly easy to get by him to drive my race. I mean, we help each other, we don't stop each other, because at the end of the day we're driving for the team to get the best result, and well, he has a big share on my second place today.
It was a good race, I enjoyed it. It was fun fighting with the top guys, and I hope next time I'll be able to stay there until the end of it.
Mika Häkkinen came to Italy with a 1-point lead in the driver's title and looked as though he would leave with an 11-point advantage. The McLaren driver had a comfortable lead when he threw the race away on lap 30 to the disbelief of his team.
There was nothing wrong with the car. I selected wrong gear, so I made a mistake, and that's it. End of story.
With 3 races left, the championship's likely to go down to the wire and the final round at Suzuka.
So get the Japanese visa, basically. Real men never cry.
It's the time of year when the drivers' market comes alive. With McLaren and Benetton confirming their current lineup for next year and Ralph secure at Williams, there are rumours that Zanardi's seat could be in danger.
We do have an agreement already that doesn't need to be discussed unless somebody wants to take a different route.
Frentzen stays with Jordan, joined by Jarno Trulli.
One of the most, if not the most, exciting young drivers to come on the scene, and we have to see how he gets on here.
At the moment, I think they are the only team which really can fight and can catch the first 2 top teams like McLaren and Ferrari.
Eddie Irvine leaves Ferrari at the end of the year to join Stewart, rebadged as Jaguar. Herbert will partner him with Barrichello, fulfilling a lifelong ambition.
I remember myself climbing the wall at the go-kart track, which is just beside the racetrack, and then looking at those red cars and just wishing that one day I could be in Formula One and, I don't know, maybe a Ferrari driver.
Michael Schumacher will give the Brazilian a run for his money, while the German's replacement this season is signed for Sauber.
With all the connections with the Ferrari and everything, I think it's a right place for me.
Sala replaces Alesi, who moves to Prost.
I don't think it's very difficult to explain it when you stop all the time for very small details.
Nick Heidfeld will partner Jean and the French team.
I think for a newcomer, I'm very, very lucky to get a drive as Prost. My main goal for the first season is to learn.
1999 has been one of the most open seasons in years. With 3 races left, there are still 4 drivers able to win the championship. McLaren have the fastest car, but there are doubts about Häkkinen's psychological toughness.
Mika was, if anything, driving so far inside his limits that he made a mistake that was a simple lapse of concentration.
With 4 wins and 8 podium finishes so far this season, Mika Häkkinen has to be favourite for the title. Teammate David Coulthard lies just 12 points behind.
It's only in the second half of the season that I've come back into being in with a shout. And I am in with a shout. You know, if I win this weekend, then it's looking good.
Eddie Irvine has benefited from McLaren's poor reliability and lies equal on points with Häkkinen.
It's up to us to start performing. I think we can do that this weekend. We've made progress. You know, we've got some new aerodynamic bits, and I'm very optimistic.
Heinz-Harald Frenzen's win in Italy has put him within reach of the leaders.
To win the World Championship, we have to beat the McLaren in speed, and that is a bit difficult in that situation at the moment. We're doing our best.
It looks like going down to the wire. Can Häkkinen take his second title, or will Irvine be the first driver since 1979 to take the Drivers' Championship for Ferrari? The Nürburgring in Germany is the venue for the European Grand Prix. Rain is forecast for the race, but it'll start dry, although there are dark clouds hanging over Eddie Irvine, who lines up 9th after a difficult qualifying session. His championship rival, Mika Häkkinen, starts 3rd, while David Coulthard outqualified his teammate for only the 2nd time this year. On pole on home soil is Heinz-Harald Frentzen, only the 3rd of his career and his 1st for Jordan. Waiting for the lights, and it's an aborted start. A massive anticlimax for the drivers, who are pumped up with adrenaline. A short delay while the drivers retake their positions, and this time they get away. Frenzen's off well, charging down to turn 1. Häkkinen's made a great start, up to 2nd and putting Frentzen under pressure as they turn in. In car with Alexander Wurz. Hill slows in front. The Austrian has to take evasive action. That's a huge shunt for one of the Saubers, causing major concern in the pit lane, not least in the Sauber camp. It's Pedro Diniz, but he appears to be okay. The rest of the field bunch up behind the safety car. Frentzen leads from the two McLarens, with Schumacher fourth and Fisichella fifth. 6 laps behind the safety car, and the race gets underway. Irvine's right with Fisichella, pressuring the Italian into a mistake, and that's allowed the Ferrari driver into 5th place. It's just started to rain, but that won't worry Frentzen leading this race. Häkkinen second, and Coulthard's just lost 3rd place to Ralf Schumacher. The circuit's getting more slippery by the minute, with Häkkinen now under pressure from the Williams driver. McLaren's on the case, though, bringing in Häkkinen for wets. It could be a risky move, with the weather yet to make up its mind. But it's one watched closely by Jean Todt. Irvine's in now. He's opted for dries, and this could be interesting. There's a mix-up with the tyres, costing the Ulsterman 28 seconds and any chance of points. With his competitors dropping by the wayside, it's looking good for Frentzen, despite the odd mistake. It's Eddie whose nerves are on edge. Mika Häkkinen's on wets and Eddie Irvine's on dries. The championship contenders dicing for a lowly 12th place, and the Ferrari driver takes it. Frentzen and Coulthard are in for their stops together. It'll be down to their pit crews now. DC won't be making the same mistake as Häkkinen. Frentzen opting for dries too. Good work by the Jordan crew, and the German stays ahead as they exit the pits together. There's a problem with the Jordan, though. It's slowing. DC's through to 1st place. Jordan's dream of winning the championship is surely over. The Scotsman now with a good lead. But he's gone off. Unbelievably, he's driven straight on at the corner, across the gravel, and is unable to stop. Double disaster for Ron, with both cars now out of the points. Giancarlo Fisichella is the new race leader, and he's lost it too. The treacherous conditions catching the Italian out, and a major blow for the Benetton team. Ralf Schumacher moves into 1st place. The young German's driven a splendid race, never out of the top 4. But he's in trouble now.
In the pit lane, please. Puncture right there.
Schumacher must now limp back to the pits, but it's not easy on 3 wheels with almost a whole lap to complete. The Williams driver makes it back, but with so much time lost, he's dropped to 5th and lost any chance of a first victory on home soil. A win that would have been Williams' first for 2 years. Incredibly, Johnny Herbert, who started this race in 14th, now leads the European Grand Prix. A fantastic race for Badoa and Minardi too, the Italians up to 4th. While the championship contenders are battling it out for 7th. Problems, though, for Badoa. The Ford engine's had enough for today, and the Ferrari test driver will have no option but to pull over. A crushing blow for the Italian team. Luca can't believe his luck, just a few laps from home. Häkkinen's pushing Irvine hard. The Ferrari driver's making him work for it, though. He's off. Irvine's gone straight on at the chicane, and Häkkinen's through to 6th. Jarno Trulli's having a great race, up to 2nd, although it's not over yet. Rubens Barrichello has his eye on the place, but can't afford to go off. Jackie needs the points to beat Williams in the Constructors. With 2 laps left, Häkkinen's caught Genet. The Finn wants the extra point for 5th, and he takes it with ease. Another setback for Minardi, but at least they look good for a point. Johnny Herbert's been outperformed by his teammate all year, but when it counts, he's there at the front and comes round to win for Stewart. Jarno Trulli is 2nd for Prost, and Barrichello's 3rd. It's Herbert's 3rd Formula 1 win and Stewart's 1st. Trulli's thrilled with his result, as are Minardi.
Especially when I went into the lead, unfortunately for Ralph with his puncture or whatever problem he had with the wheel. I had a nice advantage of Jarno, so it was then able to try and look after everything as much as I possibly could, and hopefully, I could get to the end. I was confident it would, but obviously I tried everything to make sure.
A proud day for Jackie and the Stewart team. An unusual podium with Ralf Schumacher 4th, Häkkinen 5th, and Genet scoring his 1st World Championship point.
Sound barrier? Ha!
In his career, Johnny Herbert has been very lucky and very unlucky. At the Nürburgring, it was the turn of good fortune, partly brought about by the mistakes of the title contenders. McLaren made the decision to put Häkkinen on wet tyres on lap 20. This turned out to be a mistake. In comparison to Häkkinen's stop, Irvine's was almost comical. Because Salo pitted unexpectedly, the team weren't prepared for Eddie when he arrived. Although he'd not made the same mistake as Häkkinen, opting for dries, the crew couldn't find his tyres. The Ulsterman had to sit there helplessly watching his championship chances slipping away. The Ferrari driver lost over 20 seconds in the mayhem and rejoined in 13th place. Mika Häkkinen soon realized that he was on the wrong tyres, having lost a lot of time. He lost even more when he stopped just 4 laps later for dries. Herbert had timed his decision to change tyres to perfection.
It was a bit of guesswork because it just rained on the lap I was actually coming in, but the way I looked at it, the cloud was dead in front of me and everything had been coming that way, and I just guessed and hoped that they would just come straight over the track, and it did.
Herbert was 5th when he stopped on lap 35.
Obviously the conditions were very tricky, but that was where I was fortunate I had the wets on. I don't know if I was the only one, but I just thought it was worth a risk where we were, and obviously it paid off big time.
Barrichello stopped 2 laps later, opting for dries.
Johnny guess he right and I guess he wrong. I mean, the team said, what do you think, we go for slicks or we go for wet? And they said, first I said we go for wet because it was marginal, but right in front of me was a clear sky, not the sky that Johnny saw it. So I just thought it was going to go away faster than it did. So that was the story of the race.
The penultimate round takes the championship to the Far East and Malaysia for the first time. The purpose-built venue is the most modern on the calendar and welcomes the return of Michael Schumacher. The German has missed the last 6 rounds and has some good advice on how Irvine and Ferrari can win the championship.
Drive fast, don't crash.
Schumacher was stunning in qualifying, taking pole with ease.
We expected to be strong, but to be second ahead, that was clearly surprising.
If we come to the last lap and you're leading, Eddie is second, will you let him through?
We all know the answer, yes.
Which is?
Yes.
Race day, and the weather is very hot and very humid. Schumacher is as cool as ever, while others try to emulate the double world champion. With the Ferraris monopolizing the front row, Häkkinen has to settle for 4th. Waiting for the lights, and it's go. Not a good start for Häkkinen, but much better for the 2 Ferraris as the field charged down to turn 1. Häkkinen's behind his teammate and has a little look. Michael Schumacher leads, Irvine's 2nd, Coulthard's 3rd and Häkkinen's 4th. Frentzen storming through the field, and that's Hill spinning in the middle of the pack. Another miserable race for the Englishman. Michael Schumacher's out in front, Irvine's right with him, and they could be thinking about team orders. He's let the Ulsterman through. Eddie Irvine now leads the Malaysian Grand Prix, but it's allowed Coulthard to close right up. McLaren are playing the team game as well. And Coulthard makes the move, side by side, and the Scotsman does it. DC can now take the race to Irvine. It's nail-biting stuff. Coulthard's in trouble. His McLaren's lost fuel pressure, and as the Scotsman crawls back into the pits, Schumacher moves back into 2nd. Irvine's lead looks safe, protected by his teammate, but it's a frustrating race for Mika, stuck behind Schumacher in 3rd. Irvine's in. This may be the most crucial pit stop of his career. The Ulsterman keeps his fingers crossed, hoping to get back out in front. There's Schumacher and Häkkinen. Irvine rejoins in 3rd, but Mika may still have to stop. Wirtz and Villeneuve, and the Benetton drivers force the Canadian wide. A wild spin for Jacques, who rejoins. Häkkinen's in, and his race with the Ferraris is all but over. Schumacher having done a fantastic job for his teammate. The Finns' target now is to retain 3rd. It's close, but Johnny Herbert goes through, pushing Häkkinen down to 4th. One less point for Mika, which is good news for Ferrari, but will Schumacher do what he promised and let Irvine past? Irvine's right on the German's tail and goes through to first place. Häkkinen still fighting alongside Herbert on the approach, and the McLaren driver moves up to third place. But it's too late to do anything about the Ferraris. Irvine first, Schumacher second. A great result for the Italian team.
Michael basically did the hard work for me. I don't know what we got to do with him. This guy's depressing. Not only is he the best number one, he's also the best number two.
Irvine's fourth win of the year gives him a 4-point advantage in the Drivers' Championship. A good result for the Stewart team, with both cars finishing in the top 6, and the last point going to Heinz-Harald Frentzen. At the Nürburgring, Ferrari had introduced new barge boards, but kept them under wraps.
Well, they're a little bit different, so we don't want to make it easy for people to see what we're doing. But that's all.
After the Malaysian Grand Prix, the winning cars were scrutinised as usual, and the barge boards were found not to comply with the rules, giving Mika Häkkinen the driver's title.
They have thrown Ferrari out of the race and excluded from the results. But obviously, I'm not really want to say anything yet. I'm not getting excited anything yet. It's 4 hours after the race, and I just seen one piece of paper.
Our turning vanes didn't comply to Article 3.12, which is an article which concerns the projection of the bodywork when viewed from underneath. And around the turning vane there was an area where it was possible to see some of the upper bodywork. It wasn't shadowed properly. What became confusing, and it was partly our responsibility as well as the FIA's, is that the measurement was taken off of an angled surface. The top surface of the turning vane has a slight angle on it. So when Joe Bauer put his straight edge on that surface and projected it down, he had quite a big error. And we were subsequently able to show Joe and the FIA that measuring off our surface was not the correct reference point.
Ferrari's appeal was heard by a panel of independent FIA judges in Paris.
The Court of Appeal decided to overturn the decision of the stewards, and therefore the original result of the race stands in its entirety.
With the title still wide open, Suzuka in Japan plays host to the final Grand Prix and the championship decider.
Make it through 100%, yes, it is a great experience.
Just got to do your best, and if it happens, it happens, and if it doesn't, well, as long as you've done your best, there's not a lot you can do about it.
Qualifying for the Japanese Grand Prix. Early in the session, Mika Häkkinen and Michael Schumacher set identical times. While Irvine dropped to 5th after his accident, Häkkinen had his last run spoiled. Michael Schumacher took pole.
It's going to be an interesting race, that's for sure.
After a truly dramatic qualifying session, Damon Hill lines up 12th for his 115th and final Grand Prix. Mika Häkkinen starts second for what could be the most important race of his career. The Japanese spectators will again be treated to a championship showdown. Michael Schumacher is in a good position to help Irvine, while Coulthard will be doing his best for Mika. Ron Dennis and Eddie Jordan discuss tactics for the race. Eddie Irvine tries to remain focused. Mika Häkkinen knows that all he has to do to win the championship is to win this race, which will mean beating Michael Schumacher. Countdown to the start for the final time this year, and they're off. It's a terrific start for Irvine, blasting past Frentzen and Coulthard, but it's a better one for Häkkinen, who moves into the lead. Panis is also flying from 6th to 3rd. An early retirement for Zanardi, and that just about sums up the Italian season. Häkkinen's first, Schumacher's second, Panis is 3rd, and Irvine's 4th. Zanardi waves goodbye, but hopefully not to F1. Irvine now up to third, pits in, but it's got to be a quick one if he's to stop Coulthard getting past, which could cause him problems later in the race. Ron Dennis keeps his eye on the monitors. Have McLaren calculated correctly? Irvine's out and it's close. DC takes the position, pushing Irvine down to fourth. Misery for Panis, who's without a drive next year. And that's Damon Hill, hard on the brakes, and the Englishman's run wide at Spoon Curve, a disappointing end to an illustrious career. Häkkinen's leading comfortably now, but with the reliability problems suffered this year, the team are praying he makes it to the end. Reliability problems aren't the Finns' only concern. Michael Schumacher hasn't given up on victory, which is Irvine's only chance of winning the Drivers' Championship now that he's back in fourth and falling into the clutches of Frentzen and Ralf Schumacher. Jean Todt can feel the championship slipping away. And David Coulthard can feel his McLaren slipping away. A huge off there for the Scotsman. Amazingly, he manages to continue, but that's the end of McLaren's hopes of retaining the Constructors' title. DC's made it back to the pits, but he's almost a lap down on the leaders. He'll come out in front of Schumacher, creating problems for Ferrari. Coulthard's employing the same tactics used on Mika by the German in the Malaysian Grand Prix, slowing the Ferrari driver down and putting him in danger of being passed by Barrichello. Not far from home, and Mika Häkkinen scything through back markers, being extra careful in the process. Irvine's back up to third, but it's not enough if Häkkinen wins. It's the end of the road for David Coulthard. The McLaren team call their driver in. Frenssen's in fourth, but is having visibility problems. No such problems for Mika Häkkinen, though, who can almost see the checkered flag. Just one corner to go. The Finn crosses the line to win the race and the driver's title in style. Michael Schumacher comes home second, not far behind, and congratulates his fellow double world champion.
Here I was already 1 car length lead, and I knew at that point only what I had to do is to keep this position. Brilliant.
It was pretty boring, I have to say. You know, I was just driving around, wondering if anything was going to happen to Mika.
Great rivals and a great year. Ralf Schumacher was fifth, Williams' only point scorer this season, and Jean Alesi sixth in the points for only the second time this year. Mika Häkkinen won the title by 2 points from Eddie Irvine. Heinz-Harald Frentzen finished third, 2 points ahead of David Coulthard. The Schumacher brothers are fifth and sixth. Ferrari win their first Constructors' title for 16 years, beating McLaren by 4 points. Jordan have their best ever season, finishing third with 61. Stewart pipped Williams to fourth spot by a single point. This season's debutants, BAR, failed to score.
Everything comes down to nerves. Always are 100%. That's racing. Awesome indeed. Fantastic race.
So you retire?